Have you ever wondered how agentic coding tools like Cursor, Lovable, Anti-Gravity, and others work under the hood? Everyone knows that AI agents are going to be the next big things, and we have seen this with coding agents. In this video, we'll be building like a very simple coding agent with some of the tools, and the agent should be able to decide how it can read files, how it can pass context in between the messages, how it can write onto a file, and all of these things. So the problem statement is here. You can pause to read it, but high level, I explained you what we are gonna build. So let's get right into our IDE. I'll give you the high level view on what we are going to build. So I have this boilerplate coding agent. Our goal is to make agent change existing code the way Cursor or any other agentic tool does it. And we will be building this with the help of a for loop. Let me give you the overview of this project. So if you see, we have this folder called agent, and there is a coding agent and there is an OpenAI. So let's go through the OpenAI. We are importing OpenAI from the library, and we are then creating this class, and then we have this coding agent file. We are importing our OpenAI from the other file, and then once we give the prompt, we will have to make sure that this for loop only ends when the agent decides to end it, just like all of the other agentic tools. This is where we have to write all of our code. For testing, we have set up like this test agent where we are giving this simple prompt to build a command line to do application. There are a few test cases here where it will check a certain operations on all of the CRUD functionalities. So that's the high level view. First thing that might be needing is a prompt. Here I will copy paste this prompt, and here it says that you are a coding agent that can help with programmable tasks, and you have the access to following tools, which is run commands, read files, write file, list the directories available, and a finish thing to terminate the loop once it is finished. We will also give some guardrails around how to use a tool call, like how we can parse the tool calls. For this, we'll be using XML style formatting because it's very simple and straightforward, but there are trade-offs. For example, if the underlying LLM is not that great, it may hallucinate. That may result to failed parsing. And here we gave like a few of the examples. So for reading the file, it can output this, and we can directly run these tools. Here are a few guardrails. Now let's import this. We have our prompt. Now let's implement our agent. So we will need one more thing, which is our working directory, and this will be our string. Before implementing these tool calls, let's implement a function which will parse these tool calls from the XML format to a string format. I will directly paste down here. So this is parse tool call. This will take the response as an input and return the name and the parameter, just like this. So this is our tool name, and this is our parameter. And here we are just using a bunch of regex to parse that XML into the name and the commands. Now let's write some tool calls. These are all the available tools. This is a run command which takes command as an input. Let me modify it in our way. We added the context of the directory since we only want to make changes to the whatever directory the agent decides to operate on. So this is the very first tool call. Let's write some more tool calls. The next up is this read file. For this, we'll be using Node.js's file system module that will help us get the file details from the path itself. Up next, we have this write file. So here also we are taking the current directory, and here as well we'll be using file system module. So once we have this, we will write onto that file. So this will work for both new and existing files. Now let's continue. So we will need this list directory tool. Here also we are getting the list of all the directory in the current directory and giving it to the agent with this result format, like what all files do we have, so that agent can then decide, and if it wants to move into some other directory and like create something new, it can do that. I think this is it for the tool calls, because this finishes something where we want to end this for loop on. Now we will need an execute tool call function which will basically take the past content and can call any of these tool calls to execute it. So this will take the name and the parameter, and based on the name we will execute each and every function with their correct parameters the way here it is. For finish we only need this boolean flag as true. Now the main thing here, we will have to write this run function which will actually call the OpenAI's API and do all of these things. Firstly we will need the working directory from here, and then on the very first message we need the messages to send it to our bot, and the very first message will be our system prompt. I'll use this role system and our system prompt, and the second thing will be whatever the user decides to prompt it, since we are getting it from here. And then everything will be happening inside our for loop. This loop will continue until the bot decides or we reach the max limit, which currently I think is 50. We will call our OpenAI with this messages. We are also exporting this message type, import it here, and let's assign this message array as a type to this. So this response contains the response from OpenAI. We want to push this response onto this message so that we have the history of all of the messages that we have. Role is assistant and the content is whatever is the response. So we have the chat history here, and then the agent will give us the response in the XML format. So that response we will need for our tool call. We will call this parse tool function with whatever the response that agent comes up with, get the tool call here. So this tool call will return us a name and a function. If you see here, this is returning us a name and a parameter. So this needs to be passed to this execute tool call. We can handle this by, if let's just say if we don't have tool call, then we can just return. So now we will have to check if this tool calls return finish. That means the agent is done from its side and we can just break this loop. Otherwise this should run until the task is completed. So here we will push the messages, whatever is the result, so that our agent is aware whatever is the result for the tool call that we got. Now let's handle this case if we don't have the tool call. So there are a few things that could happen. One could be, let's just say the agent says it's done, the task is finished, or task completed, or any of these sort of a phrase. A hack around, I'll just use something like this. If the response contains task completed, finish, or done, then we can just break it. Other case for this could be if there is no tool call, that means the agent is trying to use something else. So in that case we will prompt the model to use a certain tool calls, and we will give it a list of the tool calls that we have, and since that list is already there, we can just return it from here itself. So continue, and this pretty much completes our implementation for this. We are pretty much using everything here. And this completes this implementation part. So this pretty much completes our implementation for this agent. It may look a bit overwhelming, but let's just say if you are but this is the foundation of agents, and let's just say if you are right now in your college, so this is a really good project to get started with. You can probably add more tool calls, like let's just say image parsing, so that you give the agent capabilities to understand with image that what you want to build, and the possibility is limitless. And this can be further scaled to any type of agents. For example, let's just say if you are building a video editor agent which just takes prompt and edits, so for that you will need like a certain types or different types of tool calls which will help you, let's just say, cut a video, add captions. The possibilities are limitless, but this is more of a foundation, and this is a really good project to add it in your resume. Now let me try to run this. I'm using Bun for this as a package manager and the runtime. I'm not sure if it's visible. Let me zoom it. So this is the very first attempt, and the task is to build a command line to do application. So you see, we are giving all of the requirements. There was error importing this system prompt. If you can see here, it is giving the path of the file instead of the whole file. So let me clear this up and let's try to run this. Now you see, we are giving this the full system prompt, whatever we have. So it's calling the API and executing our tool calls, which is making the changes in real time. It says is successfully wrote to types.ts. So we have this types.ts here, and you see it is adding more of these elements. Storage. Let's wait for it to create all of these files. I just saw this. If you're finished, you can just call finish tool call to finish, and it responded with tool call which says finished. And now we have this test solution.ts file, which is a script to test if the application, the to-do application that it created, is handling all of the operations or not. So if you see, we are checking the files, checking package.json, and then we added a bunch of tasks, and we saw that all of the test cases are passed. So this is working fine. If you're planning to add this project onto your resume, I would really recommend that you can take this to a next level. It could be probably adding a UI layer on top of it, where you can actually prompt it instead of doing everything in the CLI. Or you can go creative and build your own next agent which can help you build like $1 billion business. I hope you found this video helpful. If yes, you can like, subscribe, and do all of these things. The link of the GitHub repository will be in the description. You can tag me on Twitter. Let's just say when you try to build this, all of my socials will be linked as well. Tag me onto your YouTube videos or Twitter post if you plan to build like a next level of these agents. And thank you so much for watching. If you are watching up until here, that means you actually invested your time to learn something new, and that sets you apart.